going on, YouTube family? Welcome to Credit King TV, your source of all credit information. Today's video is all about your credit scores and ways to increase it fast. If this sounds interesting, stay tuned. And while you're here, hit that like button and subscribe. Starting things off with your credit score. Your credit score is a number from 350 to 850. This shows how good you are with money. So we could look at this score as grades in school. 350 is an F, 850 is an A. There are many things that affect your credit scores, and we're going to touch on that later on in the video. Now, your scores actually come from three of the main credit bureaus, which is TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian. When combining all three of these scores, that's actually what's your FICO score. Your FICO score is used when you apply for mortgages and even car loans. Now, one thing to keep in mind about the three major credit bureaus, each one can be different. So you could have a credit score of 720 in TransUnion, yet a 650 in Equifax. Because when you're applying for certain credit cards, they pull from only one or two of the major credit bureaus and not all three. So just keep that in mind the next time you see your credit score and you think this is your main score, when sometimes it is not that way. So now we're going to touch on what affects your credit scores, and we're going to base it off of 5 different categories. The factor that affects your credit score is your payment history. This is the most important one, and this actually accounts for 35% of your score. Wait, let me say that one more time. 35% of your score. Now, this basically shows how good you are with paying your bills on time. One late payment could result in a 30 to 100 point drop in your credit score. This can mean you went from good credit to bad credit. You don't want that. The best way to combat this is actually to set up all your accounts on auto pay. All your credit cards and your car loans. Once you have it on auto pay, you will never have an excuse of not paying it on time. Now, what if you have a late payment, you say? If you already have a late payment, there are multiple ways to get rid of it. The two main ways are actually dispute and goodwill letters. I will be having videos about this down the road, but for now we're going to continue with this video. Moving on to the second biggest factor of your credit score, this is utilization. This is basically how much you have in a revolving account to how much you owe. Now this factor here is based 30% of your score. Best way I could describe this is as follows. Let's say you have one credit card that has a $1,000 credit limit and you owe $500 to that. You're at 50% utilization rate. Now on the other hand, let's say you paid it down and now you owe $100 out of the 1,000. Now you're at 10% utilization rate. This is actually the quickest way to increase your score. The lower you have that number, the better. Generally speaking, 30% is good, but under 6% is excellent. So just keep that in mind. Always try to pay it off. The way I do it, I pay it off every single month in full. This way I avoid interest and I avoid my utilization going high. Always try to keep it between 0 to 6%. Quick tip in regards to this is the higher your credit limit is, the more you can spend. This is why you see a lot of people with a lot of credit cards. That's so they could spend more and the utilization will still stay low. Another example I could give you with this now would be, let's say instead of having that one card, now you have 5 cards, which equate to, let's just say, a $10,000 credit line between all 5. Now you could spend $1,000 and your utilization will be at 10%. So this is why this is very important. So just take note of that. I would say do some more research on utilization and how this can affect your score. But that is one major way there. I will be making another video about this solely on this and ways to, combat that to make sure your credit score goes up and do the best you can to keep it low. Moving along now to your third factor that affects your credit score. This is credit history. Your history is basically from the oldest open account to the newest account that you've opened. Now, one key note here, you never want to close an account yourself. What do I mean by this? I'm talking, let's just say you've had a credit card for 10 years and you've recently thought to yourself, you know what? I don't even use this card no more. Let me just close it. Good job. You just closed 10 years of your own credit history. Now your credit history is going to go down. The reason why this is very important to keep all cards open is because you want to keep all that time there. This accounts for 15% of your score, and you will always want to keep your oldest cards open. Now, this also includes, let's say, a mortgage or anything of that nature. Anything that is open is what affects your credit history. Generally speaking, your credit history is kind of a hard one to tackle on when you're trying to fix your credit, due to there's nothing better than just time itself. Now, there is one way to speed up this process, and that's actually by having an authorized user. I will be making a video about this down the road, but the best way I can say this as follows. Let's just say your mother has an account, let's just say a Home Depot credit card that she's had for 15 years. If you become an authorized user under that account, you just got her 15 years plus her credit limit on that credit card. So as you can see, this actually benefits you two ways there, and actually your score is going to increase rapidly, your history will go up, and your utilization will go down. So just keep that in mind as far as credit history. Now, the fourth factor that affects your credit score is type of credit or credit mix. This is basically how many accounts you have or had open. Now, this mix includes car loans, credit cards, mortgages, school loans, etc. This accounts for 10% of your credit score. So the more of account you have mixed in your credit report, the better it looks to lenders. So I would say try to get multiple credit cards. If you can, try to get a car loan. Don't rush into any of those things, but again, the more accounts you do have open, the better it is. I would just say just be responsible with all those accounts. Make sure you don't close no old accounts, and just keep it moving from there. All right, the last and final factor that affects your credit score is hard inquiries. Every time you apply for a new line of credit, any mortgage, any auto loan, you're gonna get a hard inquiry. This is because the banks have to look at your credit score to see if you get approved or denied. The way I look at hard inquiries is kind of like a double-edged sword. On one side, you're applying for a new credit, which means you're getting a new account into your mix, which, as we said previous, adds to your score. And let's say you are getting a credit card, you're also increasing your credit line. So that means your utilization should be lower. That's the good part. Now, the bad part is you're getting a hard inquiry, which you're going to drop some points because of that. And you're also losing time in your credit history because it's a brand new account. So it's kind of like you get to choose which one is really better for you. So the way I look at it is, if it's, let's just say if it's your credit card that's going to give me a $10,000 increase, I'm going to go for that. I will be okay with that hard inquiry in my report. Mind you, hard inquiries normally stay in your report for about 2 years. So once that goes away, your score is going to go up as well. To keep in mind about hard inquiries is the amount of hard inquiries you actually have in your credit report. The reason is, once you apply for a certain loan, a lender can see how many hard inquiries you got, and if you have a lot, let's say you applied for 7 credit cards in 1 month, the lender might actually deny you just for how many accounts you've had open in that 1 month. This is because it kind of makes it look like you're desperate for a new line of credit, or you're kind of desperate for that money. So again, try to limit the hard inquiries as much as you can, and just let them fall off with time. Now that you know all the factors and what goes into your credit score, hopefully this video helped you a little bit. Again, credit is just so important because it's the difference between getting approved for a credit line or getting denied. So you don't want to go through that denial process where you're looking forward to getting a new line of credit, and then when you go for it, you get denied because of your credit score. So again, just try to put all that in play and try to see if your credit score does go up. Now, if you like this video, I would say stay tuned. I will be having a lot of videos coming up in the near future. Subscribe and hit that like button. I'm out. See ya.